you design laws now and you get it wrong, in 5 years, you're going to have to redo it.
We're live.
We're live.
What's up, guys? My name's Matty. Welcome to eSKATE by Evolve. This is the first episode, and I'm here with the man that started it all, owner and founder of Evolve Skateboards, Jeff Hanning.
Thanks, Matt.
How's the week been going?
Thanks for coming. The week has been full on. It's leading into Chrissy. It's Black Friday. We're all very busy. We're moving. We're just trying to get these boards ready and out the door for our customers. Busy times.
Nice. So before we start, we should probably recap what this is. eSKATE Chat. It is chatting about all things eSKATE. We're going to be talking about, I guess, community events, new releases, new events. We can talk with other people in the industry. It won't always be in person. Bring in brands, ambassadors, hear community customer stories, things like that.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea, and at the end of the day, that's what it's about. Everyone loves eSKATE. And no matter what board you're riding, we all share pretty much the same sort of passion, and everyone has a different story to tell.
Yeah, we'll try and keep it not too long, maybe the 20-30 minute mark. So it's nice and easy. It's going to be raw, unedited, so people can just listen in. Real general chit chat.
Cool. Yeah. Well, you better be careful these questions because I do ramble a bit.
We'll see how we go. All right. So let's jump in first of all and talk about. I guess you've been in eSKATE longer than most. It's probably coming up like 12-ish years.
Yep. Yeah, I reckon I started first riding my first e-board was late 2008. So yeah, it's been a long time. A lot of things have changed since then, that's for sure.
Yeah, cool. So one of the biggest parts that we all know about eSKATE is how strong the community is. Back when you started, what was the state of the community? And how has that progressed over the last 10 years? Okay,
well, there was no community back then when we first started. There were only a couple guys doing this. And this was back in 2008, 2009. There was no... Social media was only just developing. So what I found was when we first started, really all I was doing was I had a passion. I had a few boards. I was going out and riding in my spare time and just filming what I love to do. And right when I knew that we were going to do this, we were going to start an electric skateboard brand, that's how we first were born. And it was on social media, and it was mostly YouTube, dodgy, raw sort of edits on YouTube by myself. Had no idea what I was doing, but I was just sharing a passion. And then when Evolve finally got product out to the market, which was another story in itself, we finally shipped boards out.
That's another episode.
Yeah, definitely. And people started receiving their boards. I think that's where we saw the magic happen, because they were doing what I was doing, and that was just going out, living the moment, having fun, and showing this cool thing, that where you don't have to kick push anymore. It's just like feel the wind in your face. And they were sharing all their videos, and they were sharing it they were making it on YouTube, and then they were sharing it on Facebook. So once that happened, we then started. We had to create our own Facebook page quickly, and that's what we found was the perfect channel to share that passion on. And then I reckon after the first 50, 100 boards went out, it went to Germany, USA, UK, all through Australia, all these countries all around the world. And if you can imagine everyone putting their own passionate videos on their social channels, it gets seen, and it's like instant. And that's where I think the community started, and people sort of wanted to hear more and see more. What is this? What is this new thing? And then really I think the key moment was when the first Evolve owners Facebook group was started. And I think that was a key moment. It was only like 10 people on it when it first began. Like anything, it has to start small. And then quickly people were joining and sharing, and then it became a place where people can share ideas, meet new people, make friends, And who would have thought, like, an electric skateboard, you can meet new people and make friends and then hang out and ride together. And that's where that sort of community first started. And then as Evolve grew, so did more and more people, sharing what they love. And it was truly amazing to see. And one key moment was, I think what stands out, which really sort of spells out like the community and the family, is when we decided we were going to have the first Evolve Riders World Cup. And there was one of our riders desperately just passionate for electric skateboarding, and then he finally he said, "Yep, I'm coming," and then he had an accident. He broke his back, and this was Joe W. And then we ended up setting a fund on the page, and then everyone sort of got behind Joe, because everyone knows how passionate he was, and everyone wanted him to the to the event. So that was a key moment where what communities and how it's grown and what it can really sort of do. So Facebook was where it really sort of started.
Yeah, well, Facebook's very much where it lives now. That owners page, I think we average between 10 and 15 posts every single day. It's got like 12,500 people in it. So it's the biggest eSKATE group, branded eSKATE group there is. And the offshoot groups of that, there's countless, Evolve USA, Australia, there's every country has one, and then even broken down further than that, local towns and cities.
That's the amazing thing. And like here in Australia, we've got the Evolve Owners Australia group, and then there's like the cities, and now there's even sort of branded board groups, like the Stoke Riders group, and then there's Southeast Queensland Riders group. It's so rad to see. But this is not just Evolve groups. Then from those Evolve groups, then we've got our general eSKATE groups, and then there's just so many other sort of genres that have branched out and teed off that. Yeah, no,
I think it's super cool, and the eSKATE community, it lives online. It's sort of part of the culture. That's sort of part and parcel of eSKATE, is that you can go on and see what other people are doing. It's, I guess, a traditional skateboarding or like BMX came up in a time where social media didn't exist.
Yeah.
So eSKATE came up in this period of time as Facebook was booming, Instagram was booming.
Yeah.
So it's weird. It's definitely ingrained into the culture like that.
Yeah. Social media, it's a crazy world, and back then, no one had those opportunities to like talk online so quickly and share information. But those other big brands back then, they had to do things differently. They didn't have the social media opportunities that brands these days have. And like Unit is a classic example. They have a pretty cool story, and how they used to do things and get the community together, and had to be done by these crazy kick-ass events, and that's how people connect. So things have definitely changed.
Yeah, for sure. I guess the growth of the brand over the last decade, it's not solely attributed to community. There's a lot to do with technology getting better, which in turn makes the product get better.
Yeah.
So how would you say that over the last decade, all the generations of boards have become more accessible because technology is getting better and we're able to, I guess, harness it better?
Yeah, good question. There's been definitely some, key moments along the eSKATE journey, that have been standouts, where something new is sort of created, and then it's then developed by other people further. And when eSKATE first started, when we were around, it was like brush motors, and these were like big, like 600 watt motors, and clunky and heavy and quite loud. And not to mention the skateboard side of the board, it was never really about the carve and the ride. It was always just about the electrics on a skateboard. So I mean, I think that was our thing, was trying to really focus on the ride and the ride quality, and it needs to be as close to longboarding as possible. And so I think we had a great influence in terms of that. The next one of the next biggest sort of things that happened, I feel, from the brushed motors was then it turned into, again, it was all single motor drive, and you get this pull and push on the one side of the board as you ride, and then it went to brushless, and brushless motors then, again, they were still big, but they were quiet and they were really efficient, and they were really smooth and nice to ride. So that was the next step, and then the next step was the brushless outrunner motors, and going from single drive to dual drive. And I feel as though that was a big game changer in eSKATE, and that was definitely first done by Booster Boards, when these guys came out and used these outrunner motors that you find on drones, and they used to drill holes through wheels and put a motor to each wheel, and kept it really about longboarding. That I think that was a big game changer for our industry, and they were certainly the pioneers behind that, which then led to new designs and other technology. And battery technology is also a huge one, like Tesla using the 18650 cells. I think that was a big game changer for our industry, and where people used to build their own boards and start using these quality branded battery technology. So there's been definitely a few moments, and then I guess another big one is definitely the going from belt drive to hub drive. The day of the hub drive came in, and everyone has has their thing, and not each product is always right. It can be, you can fit in a different category, but yeah, it's exciting what's happened over the last 10 years, but where's it going to be at in another 10 years from now?
Yeah,
that's the question.
Things are going to get more powerful, they're going to get smaller, and probably cheaper. Depending on, as they get cheaper, we're going to get better stuff, and then, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, getting the price down, that means that technology has to be readily available and mass produced, economies of scale. And generally when there's new technology, it's hard to get the price down, and it takes a long time.
Yeah. We're not talking 1 or 2 years, but if we're trying to forecast a decade down the track, it's going to be a bit of a different game, because we've seen how far it's come in the last 10 years.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with you. You're talking about lighter, smaller, more powerful. That's the ultimate, isn't it?
Well, it's going to make it go back to looking more like a skateboard. We could start doing that. I know one thing you didn't mention with advancements Evolve made was doing the electrics internally inside a carbon board. And I know that appealed to a lot of people because it made things so much sleeker.
Yeah.
So in the future, where lies the possibilities for making a more skateboard looking skateboard, but still having big range, big power, and all those things.
Yeah, I agree. And, I think the key here is going to be in battery technology. At the end of the day, we all want things to be as light as possible, to be sleek as possible, like you said. But then, usually more power, faster, there's a trade-off, it usually needs to be bigger. But I think the key is, once that battery technology does change in the future, and it becomes like a piece of paper that has massive output and high density and just runs forever and charges like in an instant, when that technology comes around, it'll be a game changer. The boards will change overnight. Yeah,
it'll be crazy. And I think it's not unrealistic to sort of see that happening, because we get the trickle down effect of people making batteries for other things. So with the huge push to battery technology, green technology, renewables, people are building better cells to try and do, battery packs on houses, electric cars. So that's where it's going to start. And because that industry is so big, there's a lot of money invested into it.
Yeah.
So, once that technology sort of comes there, it's going to slowly become more mainstream, and we'll start seeing it in eSKATE.
Yeah. I wonder if Elon Musk is already working on something.
Yeah, maybe. I think potentially his cells are available, but I'm not sure what they are.
Maybe they'll be like gravity power. Will be like
gravity power.
Yeah.
Maybe
using gravity to push the boards along, being able to control and manipulate that.
He's a big fan of vacuum stuff. Vacuums, and he doesn't like magnets. That's unrelated. Anyway.
But I guess the thing is that we're talking about how technology will evolve and get better and lighter and it's changing rapidly. But I think that's when that can then become a headache for governments and law authorities, especially around laws. So I mean, we've definitely seen when we first started Evolve and electric skateboarding was in its infancy. Laws were so old, and they made them like decades ago, and they were always based around how big the engine was. It cannot be over 250 watts, and
it's not really applicable to what was coming out at that time.
Yeah, exactly. But trying to make laws around like the power output, technology is changing so quickly. You can put motors in wheels now and batteries in trucks, and they're becoming more powerful and more efficient. So it's going to be very hard to police that.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people want a free-for-all on what they can do, but realistically, it's not a great solution. There needs to be some sort of, I guess, governance by the authorities, so there's a clear right and wrong in what you can and can't do. Every country, town, even local councils have different rules around the world. But I guess speaking generally, what do you think would be an ideal scenario or a framework that these governments can implement to be able to future-proof their laws with what's happening in our industry?
Yeah, what's happening with the rapid change of technology, and that's the key. You design laws now, and you get it wrong in 5 years, you're going to have to redo it. I think the simplest solution would be look at what we've done for cars. At the end of the day, on our roads, we share cars that only do 120k an hour. Built back in 1950s. Sharing roads with supercars. We all and the supercars can go 300 k's an hour. These other cars only do 120, but they all share the same road. And at the end of the day, if it all comes down to the user and how fast they plan to drive. So I think a great framework for electric transportation, and especially e-mobility, whether it's scooters or skateboards or anything, it should be based all around speed. Like it's up to you how fast you go. And yes, the device may go over 25k an hour, or it might go 40, whatever. If there's a framework for the law authorities such as police to be able to sort of police and do their work effectively, it has to be based around speed, not how fast the device is capable of going. And I mean, could you imagine it if they get really technical with the laws and go, the motor can't be above this wattage, and then meanwhile you got a police officer who's got no idea about electronics or anything like that, and they don't even know what a hub motor is, and they can't even see the motor. It's going to be really hard for them to police based around sort of specific tech, tech.
I know that there's currently some places have rules on the voltage that the battery can put out or the battery sits at. Anyone enforcing it is not going to understand that. What they do understand is if, we're measuring your speed.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you're going down a road and you're going over 25k an hour, for instance, and they got the radar gun on you, done. If you go over that speed, then you should get a ticket, and because that's the law. I think that's the easiest way for any police officer to be able to do their job and enforce this. So my ideal situation would be setting speed limits where you can and can't ride, and being realistic that electric transportation and personal mobility devices are not going away. They're getting bigger, they're getting more popular, and they're getting more advanced in how they're used in their technology. So yeah, I think it's really important that we get a framework that's going to last the test of time, and it should be like how we've done with cars, speed limits.
Yeah, speed limits, and on a more granular level, people could split, say, on this style road or on this bike path, the speed limit is this, and have a sign for those things. And then in a
100%.
CBD area, drop it down, there's pedestrians, whatever it might be.
Common sense prevails. I mean, if you're in a city environment and there's people everywhere and it's peak hour and they're walking, and of course you're not going to go 20k an hour, charging through the crowd. You should be going as fast as what everyone else is doing there. So, it could be 6k an hour speed limits, or simply you can't use it in where there's city environments. But definitely in suburbs where there's roads and there's no white lines, you should be able to use the product on the side of the road. And I think that's definitely a good...
Yeah, I think the laws have been around for bikes for so long, it's just taking a minute to figure out electric vehicles and where they fit in between bikes and an actual motor vehicle.
Yeah.
And then alongside that, there's got to be rules like you probably should be wearing a helmet.
100%.
Things like that will all go together and say, if you follow these rules, they're clear, ride freely, have fun, go do what you want to do.
Yeah, there needs to be a balance between safety and how the product's used within the environment where there's people around and cars. But then it also needs to be, whoever's using the product, it still needs to be fun. So you don't want to be wrapped up in cotton wool, You still want to be able to get out there and enjoy yourself on these, but then it needs to be used in a safe way.
Yeah, common sense prevails. If you want to ride full ball or you want to carve up all over the road, go to a park or go somewhere where you're in an environment that you're not going to, cause too much havoc. And then people aren't going to be stressing that you're causing danger to yourself, going in front of cars, pedestrians, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Off the backside of that, I guess when you started Evolve, e-mobility was very different. There was no hire scooters. There was electric bikes were in their infancy and they weren't very good. That side of the industry has just exploded. How does that affect how Evolve grows in the whole electric space?
Yeah, well, I think as everything gets more and more popular, we need to take careful consideration to, educating our customers and being very, mindful of how they're going to use the boards. The other industries such as the high scooters, look at the Birds and Lime, that's opened up a world of opportunity. I see they've really helped put electric mobility on the map, and what last mile transportation can look like in a city environment, getting people away from cars and getting on these things and getting to work and getting to places. So I feel as though they've definitely paved the way for opportunities, and I guess that sort of segues again into legalities. More and more of these personal mobility devices, or PMDs, are on the road. There's more opportunity that laws need to change.
Yeah, and that's even going to have a flow-on effect going further into infrastructure. I know there's been a lot of talk about it in the UK during the whole pandemic, where they're like, we need to get people away from buses. Cars aren't an option because there's not enough roads.
Yeah.
Push bikes have become more popular. Scooters have become popular. E-vehicles have become popular. And they're realizing that they need to invest in the infrastructure to be able to handle this in the future.
Yeah.
So they've invested billions into committing to build cycle pathways, things like that. So I think that's definitely...
Yeah.
That's the future we're going to see: green transport, electric mobility,
yeah,
and cities shaping around that.
Yeah, 100%. You're right on the infrastructure side of things, and then what is the offset of that is having a structured law framework that's easy to police for the law. If they to do their job and they see someone riding on the road going over the speed limit, then they have an opportunity to fine them or whatever it is. But I think that's the key. It's a balancing act between safety, infrastructure, the policing, and fun. And these are topics that are being discussed all around the world at the moment. In UK, Germany's a big one, even here in Australia. We need to change. We need to be smart about it. These aren't going away. It's getting more and more popular. Technology is changing, and as a manufacturer, you can definitely get around some of these laws. I feel, in terms of like speed limiting software, making your product more discreet, lighter, more powerful. So that's why it needs to be. You need to keep things really simple. Sweet.
We're getting to the end of it now, so I think we should finish off by talking about how you personally use your board. What does an eSKATE for Jeff look like?
Yeah, there's a couple of ways I use my board. The most common way I would feel is where I live, I've got Coles down the road. It's about 1K, and that's probably my most common route on my electric skateboard. I've got numerous boards at home. I have the opportunity to, whatever mood I'm in, I'll choose that. Like I might grab the Stoke and then just do some little gutter pops and footpath lip drops and all that. It's usually go straight down to Coles, get some bread and milk, or go to the bottle-o, get a bottle of vodka. It's just I like to get somewhere, but I like to get there in style and actually have fun at the same time. So that's probably the most common way I use my board at the moment. Obviously, here at work, there's always stuff that we do. We like to find different adventures, different spots to ride, and I really also love like the weekends, like probably the late afternoons. I don't need to ride for 30k at a time. Usually if I go for a ride, it might be for like 10, 12k, and I've got my fix. I think that's long enough on the board. Late afternoon beach footpath rides, I probably like my ATs the most, because I feel as I can go much harder in the carve, and I get those wheels to like grip and hold. And I'm passionate about e-skating. I love carving. I love surfing, and I feel as though this is like the middle ground the electric skateboarding gives for me is that being in the moment and being able to just visualize that carve, and that's how it makes me feel.
When you take the GTR out, where are you, bamboo or carbon?
Oh, that's okay. That's a hard question. I'm 50-50, man. I have to say, I love the carbon. I like the stiffness in the deck, and I love that lock in, with your front and back foot. And I feel as I can really, just hit that carve hard. But then again, I probably like the bamboo for more of your cruisier style, like going on a footpath where there's some dodgy sort of expansion joints, but then there's elements of grass, and I like doing that transition from footpath to grass, and then that flex of the bamboo helps sort of soften that feel. And it's very much like snowboarding. You're going down the main run, which is totally groomed, and then you just see this little section over there. The snow's a bit softer, and then you just pop off and you land. So I definitely try to use my electric skateboards very similar to how I like to snowboard, and so I can't answer that question which one I like best.
Well, that's why you made two. It's your choice. You made two.
Exactly. Yeah. The carbon I just love. I mean, yeah. It's just, I'm looking at the carbon right now in the showroom, and it's deadly as anything, and I love the electrics that are just concealed, and we're just going to keep pushing the boundaries, man.
We're good. And that's probably going to do us for the first episode. So yeah, pretty much, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button on YouTube. You can find us at Evolve Skateboards on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. If you have any questions or topics that you want us to cover in upcoming episodes, leave them in the comments below. That's pretty much it. Enjoy skating.
Yeah. Thanks, Matt. That was rad.